Hi everyone, this is Jim with round 9 coverage of the U.S. 2014 U.S. Chess Championship taking place in St. Louis, Missouri. Round 9 was another decisive round. There were 4 games out of 6 were decisive, so interesting play. I chose the game to look at today, Sam Shankland with the white pieces versus Varuzhan Akobian with the black pieces. I did the mini bios on these players in previous videos, so I won't repeat that. I'll just say in terms of the tournament situation, Varuzhan with the black pieces is the clear leader of the tournament, a full point ahead of the rest of the field. Sam Shankland has had an up and down tournament. He's currently before this round at 50%, and he's had some good games, including a nice defeat over Alex Lenderman when Alex was leading the tournament. So he's something of a giant killer, and maybe he can repeat that today against Var. So let's take a look at it. With the white pieces, Sam plays e4 and Varuzhan plays c6, going into the Caro-Kann. So we get the advanced variation, which is very popular these days amongst the grandmasters. Bishop f5 is the main move, and knight f3. So white in this system, I think this is called the short system. He's just doing simple development. He's got some extra space. He just doesn't want to fall behind in development. He's going to let this bishop survive for a while rather than going after it immediately. Black plays e6, and now bishop e2, yeah, just continuing with this development theme. And now black plays a move c5 here. There's other choices. There's knight to d7, there's knight to e7. Those are probably the main moves. There is bishop g6 is possible, or h6 to give the bishop a flight square. But those are the main moves, and c5 is one of them as well. Now Varuzhan plays the French defense as well as black, so he's familiar with this kind of pawn structure, and this c5 push is very common in the French. But in the Caro-Kann, it's taken 2 moves to get it there, so it seems a bit strange. But the advantage is that black has managed to solve the problem of the bishop that's often trapped on c8 by getting it outside the pawn chain. So the light squared bishop problem of the French is solved at the cost of 1 tempo, because it took 2 moves to get in c5. And this is over the years proven to be, you know, a playable defense for black. So nothing untoward is happening. White castles, knight c6, continuing with the usual strategy of just putting pressure on the center. White plays c3, and now the exchange. And now white plays a somewhat tricky move, knight takes d4. It is possible just to play c takes d4. But let's take a look at what was played in the game. And the first thing to know about this position is that this pawn on e5, which appears to be loose, cannot really be taken. If black grabs the pawn, which was not played in the game, white has a strong move here. Actually, a couple moves. Just knight takes f5 here, messing up the pawns, and then rook e1 is pretty good. But the strongest move is bishop to b4 check, and this is something you might want to keep in mind if you find yourself in a similar situation. This bishop check is really strong now. The only piece that can block it is the knight, or the queen, I guess, because you don't want to give up your queen, or the king has to move. So if the king moves, there's a very nice tactic here in rook e1. Rook e1 hits the knight, but it also pins the e6 pawn, so if the knight moves away, this bishop is lost to knight takes f5. It's just hanging. So there's sort of 2 hanging pieces here all of a sudden caused by this one move, rook e1, and there's no way to save it. If black tries f6, then white can play f4, chasing the knight away and then grabbing the bishop. And if black tries bishop to e4, then f3 can be played, chasing the bishop away and grabbing the knight. Or in any case, black just loses a piece after the king move. So, and the knight moves are no better, or not much better anyway. Knight c6 loses to the very typical tactic, bishop takes c6, forking the king and the rook, picking up the exchange as well as the pawn. So that's no good. So the best try in this position is actually knight to d7. But there's a simple way for white to mess up black's pawns and get his pawn back and get an active position. The pin, the knight here, which is pinned, is also blocking the queen from defending the d-pawn. So white's got his pawn back, so he's not down any material, and he has an excellent position here and should go on to win the game. Okay, so of course Varuzhan didn't play any of those moves. He played, well, there are two book moves here. One is to take the knight on d4, and the other one is knight g7, and that's what was played. So now white proceeds to take the bishop anyway, but with the knight on e7, one of the ideas is to be able to take back with a knight and not suffer any pawn damage. And now this pawn on e5 is perhaps hanging, so indirectly it gets defended with this move bishop to d3. So once again, if knight takes the pawn, that's not advisable because of, in this case, bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight, and rook e1 pinning the knight, and then later on, here I'll go ahead and put it on the board. If he takes, then bishop takes f5, pawn takes, and rook e1, pinning the knight and threatening f5. And let's see, can f6 be played here? Oh, f6 can be played, but it's not helpful because f4 wins the knight anyway. So not good. So the pawn still cannot be taken. In this position, black played bishop to c5. Now bishop to c5, before I put it on the board, is not the main move. The main move is actually bishop to e7 or g6. Those are the two moves in this position. But Var played something a little different. Maybe he's going for a sideline, or maybe he's just trying to get out of book and see what Sam will come up with. So bishop c5, Sam with the white pieces just continues developing. Knight d2. Still not worried about this pawn being taken. g6, and now I guess in a way that really is threatening to take, and so knight f3 is played to defend the pawn at last. So the pawn was hanging there for quite a few moves, but I don't think it was ever safe to take it. And now in this position, a couple of people commented during the game that this was a bit of an unusual combination. The bishop on c5 and the pawn on g6 make a bit of a strange impression. Normally if you have this kind of pawn triangle setup, you want the bishop back here where it can go to g7, maybe putting pressure on the pawn this way. So not necessarily a fatal mistake, but just a little bit odd, and maybe gives white a little something. So white plays, I'm sorry, it's black's turn. Black plays knight to h4. Trying to get rid of this knight on f3, I guess. Maybe going after the e-pawn again. Rook to e1, not wanting to lose it. Knight takes, queen takes, and rook to c8. So just developing. And putting the rook on the half-open file makes sense, although this pawn on c3 seems pretty solid at the moment. White plays a3, probably trying to keep a piece out of this square, although maybe it's more to support b4. Yeah, actually I'm not sure what a3 is about if we look at it. Yeah, it's not one of the chess engine suggestions. Well, it is actually. I take it back. It's like the fourth move down in the chess engines list. Yeah, I'm not sure what it's about. Bishop e7 was played anyway, so maybe he's threatening to chase the bishop away. Although anytime, I mean, the reason I hesitate is anytime you play b4, it's going to leave a weak c-pawn, so it's not clear that this is a good idea in this position. There's already a rook on the c-file glaring at that pawn. Queen to g3 and a6. So maybe just a little bit of maneuvering going on, the two sides fencing. Now bishop to h6, and this looks like a good move. Prevents black from castling. And so black plays a move bishop to f8, chasing that bishop away. The bishop drops back to f4. And then bishop to g7. So now this prevents the bishop from going to h6 again and allows castling. But white immediately lashes out with h4. And now Varuzhan has to really think carefully about his position. After the game, Shankland was saying that he thought this was too dangerous in this position to castle, that the attack with h5 is just too strong. The chess engine is not afraid. The chess engine doesn't jump at ghosts, and it would go ahead and castle in this position, but you might see why facing a strong opponent you might be reluctant to castle into the storm. Instead, black played bishop f8, and now h5 was the follow-up, and bishop to e7. So this bishop has done kind of a dance. It's come out to c5, it's gone back, it's gone to e7, it's gone back, and now it's gone to, went back to f8 to g7, and now back to e7. So somehow something doesn't seem right about black's play in this game. So rook a to d1, good developing move. Knight to a5, looking at some of these light squared weaknesses on the queen side. Now queen to g4, supporting the h-pawn, and knight to c4. So the knight does jump into a good square and hits the pawn on b2. Rook to e2 is played, so defending from the side and keeping the rook in an active post, a very common and yet useful trick. The queen comes out to b6 to put more pressure on the b-pawn. And now bishop to c1 is played. I don't know if that was strictly necessary. I mean, it seems like if you were to actually play knight takes b2 here, rook b1 would be a bit embarrassing. But well, then there's bishop to a3, defending the knight and picking up another pawn. So maybe this is necessary. Anyway, bishop c1 was played. And now queen to c7, having induced a little weakness with the retreating move with the bishop. The queen goes to c7, hits the e5 pawn again. Queen to g3, dropping back and defending e5. And now b5, supporting the knight on c4. So bishop to c2 is played. And queen to c6. So a little bit more maneuvering going on here. The advantage, by the way, has been in white's favor throughout this long sequence of moves. And it's not a huge advantage, but more than the usual opening advantage. So white has been very comfortable, and black has been struggling to find moves. And what's been happening in the game is that black has been burning up lots of time trying to find the best moves and not get blown away by the attack. So he's been able to find the moves, but he's starting to get into time pressure here. Okay, so white played the move rook to d3 with the idea of coming over and putting more pressure on these kingside pawns. And notice that black never did castle, so I'm sure a lot of thought went into that as to whether there was any opportune moment to castle. Rook to d8 is played. And now rook to f3, so putting some pressure on the f7 pawn there. g5. So g5 prevents white from ever opening up lines with h takes g, but it does leave some squares behind, creating some potential weaknesses. So white pushes on with h6, and now this h-pawn is kind of a thorn in black's side. If his king ever comes over here, there's a ready-made checkmate with the h-pawn. And at this point, the chess engine is recommending queen to c7, just dropping back and I guess trying to put some pressure on the e-pawn again. What was played is one of the other choices, the engine, not the top choice, but the second or third choice. Also knight b6 maybe was an idea. But d4 was played. But this is a real dangerous move, and it may be something that wasn't fully calculated in time trouble. But of course it opens up this diagonal for the bishop, so it helps activate the light squared bishop, this pawn push, so pretty dangerous. White plays queen to g4 first. And then d takes c3 was played. Rook takes c3. And now queen to b6, getting out of this pin. There's a danger of a threat of b3 winning the knight there. b3 is played anyway, chasing the knight away and getting this good open file for the rook. Now here queen a5 was played. At first the chess engine thinks knight a3 is perhaps playable, but this is actually a bit tricky here. I think, yeah, you don't have to take back right away. Bishop takes a3 is a move, but bishop to e4 is even stronger. centralizing this bishop and leaving the knight on the side of the board where it's a bit out of play. Can't go back to c4 because the pawn guards that square, and maybe it could try and come back through b1 at some point. But anyway, and then continue on with the line from the chess engine continues on with the b4 and rook c6 hitting the queen, and this looks pretty good for white. So that move, knight takes a3, although it may seem tempting, probably would not have worked out any better. But the move black played was most unfortunate. It was queen to a5 here, hitting the rook, but it runs into queen f3, just defending everything and just holding everything together. And now black's pieces are all somewhat uncoordinated and awkwardly placed, and the queen is nearly trapped. Once again, knight takes a3 is the best choice, but that is still winning for black. What black tried here was g4, second choice, just trying to distract the queen. But now queen c6 check, getting an excellent square for the queen. You can leave this rook behind for the moment because you're moving with check. King goes to f8, and now b4, hitting the queen. You know, defending the rook by interrupting the queen's view of the of the rook, and now there's no place for the queen to go. So at this point, black is just losing material. He tries bishop takes b4, and instead of the routine a takes b4, Sam played rook takes c4. Both of those are good moves, so this is not a bad move, and the other move wasn't bad either. There are multiple ways to win this game now. So let's hang on a second. Yeah, b takes c4 was played. A takes b4, so he gets two pieces for the rook, and the queen is under attack. Could the queen grab the pawn? Maybe. Queen takes b4. Yeah, it is a move, but let's see. What's the refutation here? Queen takes a6, or rook e3. Hey, just lots of good moves. Probably queen takes a6 is simplest. It's just, in terms of material, white has two bishops for a rook, but an even bigger problem is how is this rook ever going to get into the game? It's kind of blocked in by his own pieces. He could come out to this square, but even if he gets to here, he's got a long way to go before he can actually do anything useful. So queen a1 was trying to get active with the queen, hitting the bishop here on c1. Queen to c5 check was played. And now the king goes to e8. If the king goes to f8, or g8 rather, it's pretty dangerous. You're walking into a ready-made checkmate and you're sealing in your rook. Let's see, is there a mate here? Not immediately. The engine says just drop the rook back to e1, and then after, say, queen to c3, rook d1, rook takes, bishop takes, and, well, what if queen takes bishop here? Is there a refutation? Yeah, queen to c8 is checkmate. Right. There's this checkmate threat just hanging over black's head the whole time, so there's just no way out. So anyway, the best move here is king e8, which was played. And now rook to e1, defending the bishop. And g3, trying to maybe generate some counterplay against white's king. Here, a simple move like bishop to d2 would win, chasing the queen away. You don't have to worry about this check because the queen can take. But Sam saw a way to simplify here, and he took it. He played f takes g3. So not the best move in the position, but maybe easier to play in a way. So queen d4 check, allowing this check in the exchange. As the material comes off the board, the advantage of white's, well, he's got two pieces for the rook, but also the fact this rook isn't really playing. So the advantage of white's pieces, active pieces, is going to tell more and more as force comes off the board. And so now he starts with bishop g5. taking away some squares from the king and introducing the threat of bishop to a4. Rook to g8 was played, attacking the bishop and trying to activate the second piece. He's only got one piece that's playing right now. But bishop to a4 check was played, and now the king goes to f8. If the rook retreats, then well, bishop to h4, and this rook is never getting out of the pin. If the king walks away, then the bishop just takes the rook. But on any other move, yeah, there's no other moves I can suggest really. But say something like a pawn move, you just rook d1 and you're winning this pinned piece. So there's no way out. So let's see. Bishop a4 was played. King to f8 instead of trying to block with the rook. And now the move bishop to e3, and black resigned. Once again, there's a problem of retreating the rook. The engine gives as the best try rook g to g4. Well, no, this is one of the tries. So we could try this, just giving up the exchange. But now white's just a piece up. And if we look at the pawns, yeah, the pawns are about even and white's a piece up. So any loose pawns of blacks will be quickly rounded up, and there's enough material on for white to easily win that endgame. What other tries are there here? Just moving this rook away, say rook to d5, hitting the bishop. And rook to e4, sorry, hitting the bishop, is not helping because of bishop to c5 checkmate. Yeah, that's the checkmate I wanted to show. So you have to, not that one, you have to block the two bishops somehow. So that's the threat after this bishop e3 move. So what was the suggestion? Rook to d5. How does that help? Oh, I see. He's going to sack the exchange this way. Rook to d5, bishop here check, and then rook takes c5. And pawn takes. And once again, white is a piece up, and is going to round up these loose pawns without too much trouble. So that's how the game ended. Let me back up a few moves. And this position, after bishop e3, black resigned. So with that win, Sam Shankland is a little over 50%, and Varuzhan Akobian, well, let's see. It depends on the results of the other games. So Varuzhan Akobian didn't gain any points. He remains at 6 out of 9, suffering his first loss of the tournament. Alex Lenderman won a good game today, and he's at 6 out of 9. So the two tournament leaders are Lenderman, the former leader, and Akobian. And behind them, at 5.5 out of 9, are Josh Friedel and Gata Kamsky. Josh won a nice game today, and Gata drew. So there's 4 players with a good chance in the final 2 rounds, and another group of 4 players at 4.5 points. So their chances are pretty dim, but anyway, still a very competitive situation at the top of the board, so stay tuned. In the Women's Championship, Irina Krush played Anna Zatonsky head-to-head. Anna Zatonsky, the tournament leader, and Irina Krush, the lady in line behind, 1 point back, and defeated Anna Zatonsky. So there's also a tie at the top of the U.S. Women's Championship with Anna Zatonsky and Irina Krush tied for first place. The traditional rivals still duking it out with another round still to go in that championship. Okay, hope you enjoyed this coverage. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.